What's up, everybody? What's up? Let me pull the chat up for you guys. All right. I guess I am the first one in today. Cardboard, what's up, man? Yeah, first one. Kyle, got to change the title. It says Saturday Night Watch Party. Does it? I changed it. We'll change the title. New top 25 and house settlement update. Let me see what it says on my Twitter page. Okay. All right. All right. I think I fixed it. Should be good. I made the right to White House. What's up? What's up, White House? I need to move down there and get whatever job you have. I made the right decision staying one more night because my parents left yesterday and they were on the tarmac for 4 hours yesterday and the flight got canceled. Yikes. That sucks. In the middle of Kami, Nicaragua. Yikes. Who else is tired of this freaking weather? I don't know what the weather's like for you, Cardboard, but it's been pretty solid in Atlanta recently, except for this rain that's come through the last day or two. 19 of my friends were also in the same situation. When they went to have dinner, 3 of them found worms in their food, Zach. Yikes. Austin P has cracked the top 25 for mid-major. Yeah. No surprise there. Zach, all right, Kyle. My Omaha 8, 1 Tennessee, 2 Texas, 3 LSU, 4 Arkansas, 5 Clemson, 6 Louisville, 7 Georgia Tech, 8 UC Irvine. That's a solid. I mean, that's solid, right? All those teams have played really well. Louisville in particular. I mean, like Louisville, no one's really talking about Louisville, but they're killing it. They're killing it. And now sitting at what 14th in the country in the ACC after a sweep this weekend. So I think Louisville has been kind of, I think even more of like was a sleeper preseason, maybe even more than Georgia Tech, which is kind of crazy, but they're just taking care of business, right? And there's something to be said about taking care of business, right? If you're playing a team that you should sweep and you get to sweep, that's taking care of business. Dude, I'm all in on Georgia Tech after this weekend. You know, it's crazy, and we'll get into it, but the pitching staff at Georgia Tech has been, like, we've been kind of saying, like, the pitching staff's okay. Like, they have a team ERA of, like, right at 4, and we're over halfway through the season, so that's really good. And the opposing ERA is like 9 for Georgia Tech. So they're basically, I mean, the pitching staff has been even better than I think people have said. Now, if you look at the breakup, there's a reason why you're still a little concerned about it. But still, like, you can't deny the numbers. Canes are back, baby. I smell it. I smell it, baby. I thought Wake should be ranked. White House, 100%. Like I was saying last week, Wake Forest should never have dropped out of the top 25. Yes, they got swept, but they're still a very, very good team. And, like, again, if you wanted to drop them to 23rd or 24th or 22nd, that would have been fine. But them dropping from like 16th to out of the top 25 was I think ridiculous, even more so now because they beat Florida State. So now it looks like it's a worse loss than it really is for Florida State, and it looks like an outrageous upset for Wake. When, like, I still think Wake is like a top 12 team in the country, like, realistically. So it's bad because it makes Florida State's loss look worse. It makes Wake Forest win look like way more of an upset than it really is. Yesterday's game had me ready to run through a wall. Kane, slow down. We beat the worst team in the ACC. Just disappointing to start to figure things out late in the year. But as long as you figure it out and it stays figured out, you still have a shot. Personally, I think Missouri should move to the Big Ten. They are not cut out for the SEC. Yeah, I think most people believe that. They just don't have the. In baseball, they're 0-12, right? They're the one team out of all the teams in the SEC that's just really behind in baseball. But in other sports as well, they're probably they're not on par with most of the other schools. How is Wake not ranked? Dude, I don't get it. You were in the top 25 the whole year. They dropped them out after getting swept, right? And actually, 1 second, pause. I got to text Dusty or else he's going to be mad that I didn't text him. Because I know he's going to want to talk about Georgia Tech. Okay, so let's look at the... I'm just going to pull up the Wake schedule. But I'll read some of the other comments while we do that. Every other sport they are competitive in, though. White House. Yeah, they're competitive, but they're not like dominant. Baseball is the only bad sport. Just move baseball down. Yeah, wish that's how it works. It's the same way with Pitt and Notre Dame. They don't need to be in the ACC for baseball. Yeah, but you know why Pitt's in there. Again, it's like you want Notre Dame's connection because of the football thing. And Pitt is, a basketball thing. And they've been good in football. So it's, unfortunately, like you're always prioritizing football and basketball when you're trying to bring in a team into your conference. Okay, so Wake Forest is 23-10. They are 9-6 in the ACC. They're 9-6 in the ACC. And so they have one of the best records in the ACC and they're not ranked. It's the dumbest thing. It's a real oversight by D1 baseball, I think. They swept Notre Dame to open ACC play. They swept Miami. They lost 1 of 2 to Clemson, but really tight games. They lost 1-5. They won 12-10, and then they lost 6-7. So Georgia Tech played Clemson a little bit tighter, and then obviously just stomped them and they'll get their one win. But Wake Forest played them just as close. And Clemson's number 1 team in the ACC now. Now they got swept by Virginia Tech, but Virginia Tech is in the top 25 for D1 baseball. Virginia Tech is now in the top 25. Right? So, and again, they got destroyed by Virginia Tech game 1. They lost a close game to Virginia Tech, and then they lost a tight game on Sunday. So Saturday and Sunday were tight. It was at home. I get it. That's a bad loss. That's a bad sweep. Get it? If they just lose the series, it's different. They got swept. Drop them down. But keep them in the top 25, for God's sakes. They're like number 15 in the country at that point. And then they just go on to dominate. They lose a tight game to Florida State in Tallahassee and then dominate them 2 straight games. 12-0, 17-2. And they barely lost Friday. But they're not ranked. And the other thing I don't get is in the comment, and I love the D1 baseball staff, don't get me wrong. But in the comment, and I'm going to get back to y'all's other comments, don't worry, I can see them all. Kendall Rogers said, we're just looking for some consistency from Wake Forest. Well, what do you mean? They swept 2 teams that they should sweep. They faced Clemson, who's one of the best teams in the country, played them really tight. They got swept by Virginia Tech, who's ranked in the top 25 and is way better than everyone gave them credit for. And then they dominated Florida State. What do you mean consistency? Their only bad weekend was they've had one bad weekend. They got swept by Virginia Tech, who's a solid team in the top 25. So they've been consistent. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. Okay. Georgia Tech versus Auburn. I don't know how I am a Maryland fan. We just got swept by Illinois and lost game 3, 11-0. Yeah, it's tough. That's tough. Buck, what's up, man? I saw by the way, Buck, I saw your email you sent me. Thanks for that. D1 Podcast just said they debated Wake Forest the most this week, but just want to see some consistency. Don't shoot the messenger. Yeah. Okay. So Buck, that's what I saw, right? That's what I saw. And to me, they've been consistent. They lost to the right now the highest ranked team in the ACC in Clemson, and that was a tight series, super tight series. They get swept by Virginia Tech. Bad weekend. Okay, bad weekend. But Virginia Tech, we've been saying this on here for the last 6 weeks, 7 weeks. Virginia Tech is way better than people think. Like, that's not nearly as bad of again, getting swept sucks no matter what it is, but that's not nearly as bad of a sweep as there are others out there, right? And so you're basically saying that one bad off weekend means they're not consistent. They've played consistent the rest of the season so far. You can play consistent and still lose a series to the best team in the conference, but then they dominated number 4 FSU. So I don't get it. They should definitely be. I'm not saying they should be like top 10, but they should be around 15 to 20 right now, without a doubt. They should be right there with Louisville and Georgia Tech. That's where they should be. I wish Dusty's son a happy birthday. That's our future starting pitcher for the Hurricanes. Yeah, I was there. It was fun, man. At a little brewery, and because it was raining and it was storming, there was nobody there. Am I wrong to say Georgia Tech is the second best team in the ACC behind Clemson? I think they're definitely in. Let me pull up. Let me make sure I'm. All right, here we go. I'm pulling it up right here. Okay, so right now Georgia Tech has the best record in the ACC because they've played 15 games. Clemson's played 12. They're 9-3. Tech's 11-4. So if Clemson goes 2-1 again, they'll be tied with Georgia Tech. Clemson has again won every series they've played so far. Florida State is 8-4. So they're behind Georgia Tech in win percentage. Louisville's 8-4. Wake's 9-6. Virginia Tech's 9-6. Again, it's crazy to me that Virginia Tech is ranked. Kyle, are you saying you're Dusty's only friend? No, there was a bunch of other people there too. There was a bunch of other people there. But I do think Georgia Tech is certainly in the top 3 right now, or 4 in the ACC. I mean, that Georgia Tech, Clemson, Florida State, Louisville, that is the top 4 right now. And I think you may, even though Florida State lost the series, I think you do include them maybe slightly ahead of Tech with Clemson. So I think maybe you go Georgia Tech 3. Does South Carolina still have a chance at the tourney? It's very unlikely. Very unlikely. Florida, same thing. I mean, A&M still very unlikely, but they can play better, right? That series this weekend against South Carolina is going to be big. Auburn, Georgia Tech is going to be a huge game. Yeah, like we talked about hosting. So me and Dusty were texting back and forth. And Kane's great question. That's what we were talking about. So Auburn, Georgia Tech is going to be a huge game. Virginia Tech, Troy as well. Yep. Okay. How many more ACC wins does Georgia Tech need to host a regional? I'm going with 7. And that means for sure you're a regional host if you get to 18 wins. If you're 18-12 in the ACC, you're a regional host. That doesn't mean you're a national seed. You're probably in the conversation, but you're a host. Now, if you go above that, you're in that national seed. If you're 19-11 in the ACC, you're probably a national seed. So that's 1 win difference. You're a national seed. Now, if you go, let's say you go 17-13, you're probably still a host, but there's maybe a little bit of question mark there. There's maybe a little bit. I think really 17 is pretty safe for a host. But me and Dusty were texting earlier, and I think if you get to 18 wins, you're probably 100% a host, and you're in the national seed conversation. You're a national seed 100% at 18-12. Yeah, I don't think it's 100%, but I think it's like 80%. I think it's 80%. Because you got to remember, like, there's always more than 8 teams deserving of a national seed. There's always more than 8. So if you're in that, like, they deserve it, but we got to look at if they're 19-11, 100% national seed. At 18-12, I think it's like 80% chance. Like, you're probably going to be one, but who knows? All right, so let's look at this new top 25 from D1 baseball. And again, I have my feelings about it. We'll talk about it. All right, so Arkansas is at number 1, Texas number 2, no surprise, especially after Florida State losing. LSU number 3, Clemson 4, Tennessee 5. Again, Tennessee finally lost a series. And it was surprising, but Tennessee's going to be fine. Ole Miss, number 6. This is a pretty big jump for Ole Miss. Because they've played well, but they're 24-7. You know, it's like, it's a pretty big difference between these 4 or these 5 and then a 7-loss team. You know, Georgia's drops to 7 after after losing this weekend to Texas. Oregon State beats UC Irvine. To me, I think that, I'm sorry, but I don't think that was warranted a 3-spot jump from 11. Again, their schedule has been very, and they're 22-7. You know, like they've played nobody, and all their losses are to good teams. So I still think Oregon State's very overrated. Florida State, a pretty big drop, like behind Oregon State for me. I mean, geez, I think to me, what I'm seeing from D1 baseball this year is ACC teams are getting punished massively for series losses. And they're not getting quite as rewarded quite as much for big wins or sweeps. That's what I'm seeing. Like Florida State dropping from number 4 to 5 after they lost to Wake, again, who's a way better team, should be in like the 15 to 20 range this week. But because they're out of the top 25, you have to penalize Florida State's loss more. But we all know Wake Forest is definitely should be a ranked team. It's ridiculous they're not ranked. That's the one thing I've seen. The two, I think, big misses from D1 baseball currently are Oregon State is highly overrated, and Wake Forest and the ACC in general is very underrated. That's my belief, because I've watched a lot of baseball, and I just think like if you're in the, and again, D1 baseball is SEC. Yeah, I mean, it looks like that. But, and don't get me wrong, like the top teams to start out the year in the ACC have not performed, like UNC, Virginia, Duke, right? They haven't performed as well. So that's why you're seeing that a little bit, because with like your Virginia Techs, your Georgia Techs, your Louisvilles, I think D1 baseball is still kind of waiting for them to like look like they thought they were going to be, instead of understanding that like we're 5-6 series in now, or 5 series into the ACC, halfway through. Like you pretty much see what you got. Buck, Florida is UVA now the most disappointing team with A&M. Win and brutal walk-off loss to North Carolina State. I still think Virginia is still fine though. Like Virginia still is like they're hovering around 500 ball, right? So they're, again, if you're going to turn into a host, you gotta start really winning games and winning series. But Virginia's still fine. They're not nearly as disappointing. I guess you're saying besides A&M, but no, they're not on A&M's level right now. I do think what Zach said here, Florida is probably the most disappointing team besides A&M. It may even be more disappointing than A&M, because they're now 1-11 in the SEC. A&M sitting at 3 wins, right? Like Florida may end. I mean, again, A&M, when you're preseason number 1, like that's going to take the cake as most disappointing. But Florida's right there as well. SEC is notably above the ACC this year. You know what? I don't disagree, Buck, but I think part of it is, to me, again, one, the SEC is not as deep into their conference play yet, so we're not quite into seeing teams beat up on each other yet, like we will, right? They're like 4 weekends in. Georgia, most of the ACC teams are 5 weekends in. But if you look at the standings right now, and we'll get back to the rankings in a second, let's talk about the teams that are projected to be tops in the country. You had Virginia, Duke, North Carolina, and North Carolina State. Those teams are 7, 8, 9, 10 in the ACC right now. So that's why you're thinking that, and that's why you're seeing that. But let's talk about Virginia Tech, Louisville, Georgia Tech. 3 teams that were supposed to be, not finished that high are all in the top 5 or 6 in the ACC right now. So again, it's not that I think maybe the SEC has a few better. They have a few more like really elite teams, but I think talent overall, it's about the same. It's just that Virginia, Duke, North Carolina State, they're all playing fine. Virginia's 7-8, Duke's 8-7, North Carolina's 8-7, North Carolina State's 7-5. So all of them could go on second half runs, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, these guys are really good, right? Like, again, if Duke wins every remaining series, they're at 18 wins. If North Carolina wins every remaining series, they're at 18 wins. If Virginia wins every remaining series, they're at 17 wins. So, like, these teams are not far away, and North Carolina State's only played 12. So if they win all the remaining games, they're at 19 wins. Right? So again, Virginia, Duke, North Carolina State, they can all turn it on here in the second half, and they're going to look like totally different teams. So don't sleep on how deep the ACC is this year. Now, I'll concede that the SEC is definitely deeper, but the ACC is really deep as well. And man, Stanford is down to 5-10 in the ACC after getting off to a 5-1 start. They've lost 9 straight contests in the ACC. Insane. All right, let's get back here. So UCLA at 10, they've dominated. I think they deserve to be there. Again, they're playing in a little bit of a weaker conference, but they deserve to be here. Auburn, big series win against Alabama, jumping from 16 to 11. Now again, right, this is how much of a jump, this is how much of a drop you should have seen from like Florida State Wake. Florida State dropped 5 spots. Alabama drops 4 spots after losing to Auburn in a pretty tight matchup in Auburn, right? UC Irvine dropped from 12 to 13 after losing to Oregon State. So they don't drop at all, I guess. If you're West Coast mid-major and you lose a series, you don't drop. Louisville up from 18 to 14, playing really well in conference. 8-4 in conference, 12 games in. And again, that's why Georgia Tech has the advantage right now, because they're one of the, like, half of the teams in the conference have played 15, and they're 11-4 in 15. All right. Oregon at 15. Again, to me, guys, like, I don't get it. Like, you're 22-9 and you're playing in the Big Ten. I don't know how you're ranked 15th in the country. Like, are we going off performance here? Are we going off talent? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Georgia Tech's 26-6 in playing in the ACC, and they're not ahead of Oregon. And Oregon went 2-2 and didn't drop. All right, let's pull this up. Let's go to Oregon's schedule. We're going to do this. And I'm not saying Oregon's not a good team. They are. I'm just saying I don't think they should be ranked quite where they are, which is fine. It's my prerogative. All right. Okay, so their schedule is like, again, it's very just like it's decent, but there's nothing crazy about it. And to me, like, they cannot be ranked higher than like Georgia Tech and some of these other teams. They beat Michigan 2 of 3, but they lost to Portland in the midweek. And they don't move. Okay. UNC moved from 19 to 16. Vandy with the sweep of Florida moves from 23 to 17. Georgia Tech, I think, finally gets a big bump. They go from 25 to 18 after sweeping the week. Obviously, just dominated Stanford in 3 games. And again, I think it's also playing is that Georgia Tech was, really this close from sweeping Clemson. That's how tight that series was. You had one game where Georgia Tech dominated. Clemson had no chance of winning. So Clemson could not have swept Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech had opportunities to win both games and definitely should have won game 3. They just gave it up in the 9th. So when you take that into consideration, it's like Georgia Tech, that's the best team in the ACC, and Georgia Tech really gave it away. Right? Like Clemson didn't win that series. Georgia Tech gave it away. And you guys know what I'm saying. When you have the lead in the 9th inning and you give it up, you give it up. Doesn't mean they didn't earn it. Doesn't mean, and again, Clemson has been very good at winning close games. But then we have Oklahoma, who dropped all the way from 10th to 19th. Again, I think some of these SEC schools have been a little bit just like had the SEC boost to their ranking. So that's going to start evening out as the SEC gets deeper into conference play. Troy, fine week, hovering at 20. Coastal, good week, hovering at 21. Kansas finally makes it in. Kansas has been Kansas deserves to be in there. 27-6, right? Like, why is Kansas not ranked above Oregon? They're 22-9. Southern Miss, tough week for Southern Miss. Drops to 22-10. I believe they lost to Marshall, which makes Georgia Tech's loss to Marshall look better. I think Zach said that maybe earlier. Last week. Arizona jumps back in after beating Arizona State. And then Virginia Tech, like I said, is sitting at 25. And then these are the 3 teams that dropped. D1 baseball is loony. I don't think they're loony. I just think, again, with every ranking system, you can't be perfect. But I do think there is a little bit, with D1 baseball, there's a little bit of SEC kind of, I don't want to say bias, but just boost. And I think the ACC has hurt itself in the rankings to this point because, like those teams I mentioned, Duke, UNC, Virginia, and NC State have all got off to rough starts in ACC play and rough starts to the season. So all of a sudden, when like those 4 teams were all in the top 15 preseason, and now the only one in the rankings, I believe, is UNC. Yeah, is UNC. So imagine you have 3 other teams out there that are top 25 caliber teams talent-wise. So that right now the ACC has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams. They could easily have 8 or 9 in here in a couple weeks. So interesting. Okay, let's turn this off. We'll talk about the House settlement in a second. Georgia Tech should be higher. Yeah, I think Georgia Tech probably should be in the top 15. I don't know if they should be top 10 yet. I think, again, next weekend is let me see here. One second, I gotta answer this text, guys. Sorry. All right, golly. Okay. So, next weekend for Georgia Tech is Cal. So, realistically, that can be essentially, so Dusty did the numbers this morning. If Georgia Tech wins 2 of the remaining 5 series and then doesn't get swept, they're a for sure regional host at 18 wins. That's all they have to do. And again, I think Georgia Tech will be, if they just continue playing like they are, They're going to be fine. Arizona and ASU get no leeway in the rankings. They lose and drop, but they're both elite teams, especially talent-wise. Yeah, I think. I mean, listen, that's a tough dropout for Arizona State because like Arizona just jumped back in, right? So like that's a loss to a team that's right on the edge of being top 25. Probably shouldn't be penalized that much. But once you get into the top 25, I mean, as long as you just like, win a couple series in a row, you're going to stay in. You'll be in. It's going to take a few in a row to get out. We only have three regular season games left in JUCO. Where did the time go? 3 regular seasons left in the Panhandle Conference. Yeah, it's crazy, man. I feel like this season has kind of flown by. I mean, I think you're right, Zach. It's crazy how much the season, even in D1. I mean, it feels like, man, we're halfway through the ACC schedule already. Ole Miss, Tennessee this weekend will be entertaining. Oh, 100%. Oh, 3 regular season weeks. Yeah. I was about to say, I don't think it's 3 regular season games, but 3 regular season weeks. Which again, I mean, there's not that many left in D1 either. You got 5 or 6. You got 6. You got a non-conference. You got 6. All right, so let's look at some of the things I bookmarked. Let me see if I can actually find one of these. Oh, I'm in the wrong one. 1 second. Got to switch accounts. And then we're going to talk about the house settlement stuff here. So how about this effort in a major league game, by the way, guys? Let me pull this up here. This is from our boy, Jeff Fry. It wasn't a great effort, but the real issue is moving your shortstop to center field and thinking it's an easy transition. These decisions are being made by non-baseball people. Shigan. So let's watch this.
More. The then Indians in 1999 had 6 such games. Cruz can't get that one, and it gets by him, and it rolls all the way to the wall. Wells is going to second. He's going to round second. He'll head to third, and that's where he'll stop.
So, what do we think of that? Like it's hilarious because he's spot on. He's spot on because like I can tell you guys this from experience from having dealt with this happening above me in the big leagues, where like it was like, oh, this guy's he's been a shortstop. We'll just put him in left field. Like that's what it looks like. That's what it like. Watch it again. Like literally has no idea how to play outfield.
6 such games.
Like, oh, I'm just gonna. Oh, I made the wrong read. I'm just gonna like. I'm not even gonna try to get in front of it or like put a glove on it to knock it down. Like I'm just gonna let it go. And then again, this guy, I don't know where our right fielder is. Right fielder is. I mean, I get he's jogging, but like you got to be running harder than jogging.
Wells is going to second. He's going to round second. He'll head to third, and that's where he'll stop. We'll see how.
But I mean, that's what it looks like when you put in like an infielder in center field who's never played the outfield. Like that's just what it's going to look like at some point. Like the issue is that if a lot of these analytics guys that run major league teams, they just think like a fly ball is a fly ball, and that's true. Like a guy who's a routine fly ball, an infielder can catch, but when it's not routine, and that happens way more than I think people understand, especially these guys that never played. The infielders, you can tell they've never played in the outfield before when that happens. Was that O'Neill Cruz in center? Yes. Yeah, the house settlement refers to a former player's last name. Yeah. All right, Zach, you said High Point USC Upstate was on ESPNU and ASU Zona was on ESPN2. Definitely seems like the game is growing big time. Oh, 100%, man. It's only going to get bigger too. It just keeps getting bigger. Well, I don't even think there is any off-season practice going on, Reyes. I think they were just like, hey, go play center field. You know, I don't think they were like, hey, this year we're going to be utilizing you sometimes in center. I think they're just like, and again, that's with 2 outs. That's with that's with 2 outs and a 1-run lead. You're going to give up that kind of a base hit. Insane. Though that was thought that was a shortstop in the infield. I'm pretty sure Javi Baez played center for the Tigers this weekend. Oh, I wouldn't be surprised, man. Like they just think anybody can play anywhere. Like realistically, they actually what they believe is that if you're an infielder, I think it's pretty obvious that a career outfielder could not transition to the infield smoothly at all. But they think that a career infielder can just go, oh yeah, it's just fly balls, just put him out there. That's what they think. This is his second year in center field. He is a professional player. All those types of hits should be practiced so he could be used to those. So he could get used to those line drives. Yeah, I mean, it's just again, what I see in that play is that, all right, be aggressive, try to make the catch, but as soon as you know you can't catch it, you gotta put some kind of effort into knocking the ball down so it's still a single. And it was just like, I can't catch it, just let it go. So it's it just didn't look good. But guys, so with the house settlement, that could be decided by the end of the week or early next week. The decision is being made right now. And from what I've seen, there's a decent amount of people out there that think that there's not an insignificant percentage chance of the settlement being denied. Right? So I don't think it's like 50%. But like maybe 15, 20% chance that this thing gets denied. And then who knows what's going to happen after that. Isn't the mindset from these organizations now is we're just going to draft a bunch of shortstops and play them everywhere? Isn't that what the Padres do? I mean, again, like I think you could say that. I think there's definitely organizations that believe that. Right now, is it there? I think still like you're going to draft the best player you can. Like you're not going to be like, oh well, this guy's an outfielder. Like if you were drafting, and for example, it's like Drew Burris was there, but you're like, oh, he's not a shortstop. We're gonna go down a few spots to pick a shortstop. They're not going to do that. Most teams are almost always going to draft the best player on the board. But if all of a sudden you're like, you're picking between two, it's a smart choice to go with the shortstop. But I think if you think like, oh yeah, well, if we need to move in the outfield at like in 5 years, we can just do that. Then I don't know what you do. Jackson Merrill was a shortstop all the way until last year. Yeah, and again, I'm not saying that you can't make that change. I'm just saying not everybody's going to be able to do it as well. And also, like, you're still going to see, like, you're going to see things that you wouldn't expect to see in the big leagues because of that. Because it's not just about, like, how they make the play or anything like that. It's also about, like, does he know what his responsibilities are? Does he know, okay, in this situation in the outfield, this is what we're trying to do? If you're an athlete, even though it doesn't work all the time for everybody, you can play anywhere. True. And it's an easier transition from infield to outfield than outfield to infield. There's no doubt about that. But again, it's stuff like that. Like that play right there indicates O'Neal Cruz doesn't understand, like, hey, it's a one-run game. Like, if you're going to go for that ball, you can't let it get to the wall. Like, you got to knock it down. And you're a big league player. It's like John Kruk said in that video we showed the other day. It's like, I don't care how hard they hit it. You're in the big league. You're a big league defender for a reason. Like, it's like, and I saw this over the weekend in the Georgia Tech Stanford game. One of the hitters for Georgia Tech hit like a hard one hopper to the shortstop, and it like ate up the shortstop. And they were like, oh yeah, it's a hit. And I'm like, whenever was like a hard, would technically ground ball to the shortstop that eats him up? When was that ever a hit? That was always an error. But now, and again, you're seeing this across baseball, because, especially in the big leagues, you're seeing it more because the offensive numbers are so down. They're like, oh, well, like all of a sudden, like plays that are usually errors aren't errors anymore. Tigers have Ryan Kreidler playing center field. I don't even know who that is, to be honest. So, but again, like the guy that was playing outfield in front of me off the bench for Milwaukee, Nick Franklin, he was a shortstop. He had never played outfield in his life, and he looked terrible out there. And he lost him a couple games, probably with his bat, but also with his glove. So, you know, that was the reason why Milwaukee didn't make the playoffs last year. Or not that year in 2017. They missed the playoffs by a half game. It's because they were running out dudes that had never played in the outfield. Let me see this. I did not just watch that in a big league game. Oh my gosh. Zach, why did you send me this? What is this? You guys, man, this aggravates me. This happened in a big league game.
Miles per hour. Corey Lee liner to center. And Kreidler misplayed that one. It's over his head. So Slater will score. They're going to stop Sosa at third. And the White Sox trying to make it interesting here in the ninth. Still nobody out. Miles per hour. Corey Lee liner to center. And Kreidler misplayed that one. It's over his head.
I don't even want to. Dude, if I never saw anything like that in my whole career in the minor leagues, and that's happening in a big league game, like, you got to be kidding me. What is this jump? He's over here. He runs in and down this way when this is a inside-out deep fly ball to center that ends up fading back towards right field. Like, what on earth? What? Okay. I'm going to throw up now. We're at the weird part where the music gets weird. Okay, changed it. As an outfielder, were you better catching fly balls going to your right or left? I was very comfortable going to either side. I didn't have one side in particular that I didn't like. I will say, going to your throwing arm side is easier if you're getting to the wall, right? Because I can put my hand out and try to catch the ball, so I can know where the wall is. But it is slightly more comfortable running after a ball, catching it on your glove side, because it's just like you got more time and I can really see the ball better. At some point on your throwing arm side, like you're gonna have to put your hand out in front of your head. Again, little things, but I didn't care either way. Like Lewis Brinson in particular, if he had to go, I believe, to his glove side, he was really bad. And every pitcher talked about it that played with him. It was like they saw a ball get hit in the right center gap. They were like, oh, gosh. Wow, there was some stellar play in the outfield this weekend. Bad, real bad. Yeah, what's up? What's up, Jared? Yeah, I mean, I don't even want to talk about what I just saw from the Tigers. Guy playing center field for the Tigers in the big league. That's something, you see that in high school. You don't even see reads that bad in college, for the most part, at a high level. Like that, I've never seen anything like that. I have never seen anything like that. I got to look up this guy's numbers now because I have to figure out what I have to figure out who this guy is. "27 years old. UCLA. Oh, he's a career 146 hitter. Okay. Let's see what he did across the minor leagues. Oh, he's a career 236 hitter. Okay. Career 236 hitter. Like this. Okay. Now I'm just. Zach really got me going today. How does that guy who plays defense like that play in the big leagues? He's a 236 career hitter in the minor leagues. He hit 261 in college. In 4 years up and down in the big leagues, he's hit 146. No, but you know what, Zach? That's a perfect example. That's a perfect example. Is like guys like that who can't. I mean, again, I never made a read like that in my life at post 12 years old. Okay, that's one of the worst reads in the outfield I've ever seen in the big leagues. Let alone and I've ever seen, let alone in the big leagues. 2, the guy is a 236 career hitter in the minor leagues, whose OPS is like 730. It's about the same OPS as mine career because he hits a good amount of home runs. But he's got I'm trying to look at what he strikes out. I mean, he's got 437 strikeouts in 1,500 plate appearances. He's literally striking out 30% of the time almost, right at 30% of the time in the minor leagues. In the major leagues, he struck out 60 times in 189 appearances or plate appearances 30% of the time. Let me see what this guy's service time is. Wow. Crazy. Can't believe I just saw that. Can't believe I ran into a guy that guy's playing in the big leagues. Kyle, he played shortstop at UCLA and shortstop in the minors. We have injuries to our outfielders. And instead of calling an outfielder up, they stick him in center field. Well, no offense. I don't know what he's doing in the professional baseball still. Guy can't hit. I mean, his junior year in college, he hit 300. 300 flat. The years prior, he hit 222 and 241. Holy cow. As a hitter, ground balls to the outfield are now automatic extra bases. No errors, though. Laugh aloud. All legit extra base hits. Zach, you just ruined my day, to be honest, dude. I can't even believe what I just looked at. I can't even believe what I just saw on Baseball Reference. But again, those are the type of guys that are getting called up to the big leagues. There's a lot of those guys that are like 240 hitters in the minor leagues. You look at their numbers and you're like, he's not very good, and then they get called up. Pretty crazy. Unbelievable. And you know what? The other thing is some of these guys that were drafted, like that missed the 2020 season, they just get like instant promoted to like double A. So they didn't have to grind. They didn't have to work. It's crazy. They didn't have to like actually prove it at each level, make it to double A. Like getting to double A is huge. That's tough. That's a tough road getting to double A. And a lot of these guys, they got drafted and it was just like, how is this guy a 4th round pick? I'm about to lose my mind. How is this guy a 4th round pick? He hit in college 241. Sophomore year 222. Junior year 300. I don't know. That's what the big leagues looks like now, I guess. All right, I'm exiting out. I can't look at it anymore. Can't look at it. Zach Lesnar, 100 points. Kyle will have nightmares about that play tonight. Dude, I'm going to have nightmares about many things after this stream. But, I mean, guys, we're going to get a decision here soon on the house settlement. Like finally going to get a decision on it. And again, like, what do you like? I'm going to put it to you guys. What do you guys think happens if it gets denied? Because schools have made all these adjustments. Schools are like, hey, we're going to 34 scholarships. We're doing this. They cut a bunch of guys this past offseason because they had to get in preparation for this. What do you guys see happening? I think I started one of the best Kyle rants. What's sad is there were worse plays than that all weekend. Half of the games I watched had soccer stars in the outfield kicking the ball over the place. Dude, I mean, it's like I said, we're reaching the point. Like I knew this was coming 7 or 8 years ago, right? When I near the end of my career, because I just kept seeing this all over the place. It was like, oh, you hit 230, but you hit 15? Big leagues. Oh, you hit again, like this was Brett Phillips' his whole career post A-ball was basically 220, 18 home runs or whatever, promotion, 40% strikeout rate. Oh, who cares? Promotion. And again, it was just like so obvious to me from being around the game for so long, like that formula does not work at the next level. You cannot strike out in 35% of your at-bats or your plate appearances, and that'll only get worse in the big leagues. They don't even show. Let me see when they made. Oh, you guys are, dude. You guys, I had to answer one text, and you guys are crushing it. Let's see here. All right. Yeah, Jared said there were even worse plays all weekend. Oh yeah, that's what we were talking about. Buck, the problem is if there is a settlement, it will likely be appealed, leaving schools and conferences in limbo even longer. Yeah, I wonder if like they're going to say it's going to go into effect. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like if they appeal it, can they put it into effect? Who knows, Buck? Yeah, I mean, it's going to be. The funny thing is, I made a video that'll be out tonight about it, and it was like the Wild West era may be over in college baseball, but the billable hours era will not be over. Baseball and Olympic sports don't do well in this settlement. Rev share is 70% football, 15-20% men's basketball, 5-10% women's basketball, the rest for other sports. Oh yeah, I don't think many schools thought they would get like hardly anything from the settlement. Just to be honest, like they're maybe hoping for a few 100,000, And again, in NIL that can get you a couple really good players, or it can get you 5 or 6 good, really good players. So I mean, even a little bit helps. They don't even show batting average anymore, just OPS. I don't understand why these teams don't try to find more Steven Kwans that got hit, that have the hit tool and get on base. Zach, I'll tell you this right now. If I was a major league GM, again, you got to get power guys, stuff like that. But here's the secret. You want to have the best offense in Major League Baseball and develop it from the minor league system up. What you do is you find pure hitters, because you don't need power in the big leagues. It's all about as long as you're hitting it at the right angle, you're going to hit for power. All you have to do is get high bat to ball, good on base guys, and guys who can really hit and have high bat to ball. They're the most likely. They can make adjustments with their swing plane and still be fine. So that's what you would do is you'd find those guys that are like people think are undervalued because they don't have like this huge amount of power. And then you just have an off-season program where they make small adjustments in their swing. They're still really good hitters, but when they do hit the ball now, it's going to be more consistently for doubles, triples, and home runs. That's what I would do. I saw a couple of nice bunts from the Vandy game yesterday. Wish there were more in Major League Baseball. Yeah, I mean, that's basically been ruled out in the big leagues now. Like they no one will do that. No one. And it's hilarious because like the games are just as much must win in college baseball, and they're willing to do it. The problem is no one gets if your college program is training guys how to do it, that's fine. But in the big leagues, I can promise you no one's really working on bunts. You may do like, hey, get a couple bunts down in BP. Like that, you don't know how to bunt if you can just from bunting in BP. Bunting in BP, it's a BP fastball. It's right down the middle. Like you need to get them on a machine with velo and throwing breaking balls and all this stuff. Don't know if you saw the Baseball Bat Bros video recently, which compared the exit velo of a standard cage ball to high school, NCAA, and MLB balls. Each was increasing, but MLB was clearly the highest. Yeah, I mean, no doubt. No doubt. The big league ball is so juiced, it's ridiculous. Schools are going to have to bifurcate into those who are supporting a semi-pro sports program and those who are student athletes, like that basketball school that recently went to D3 from D1. Yeah, 100%. Go look at CJ Kafis. Yeah, so last year he did really good. So he hit 291 as a whole last year between high A and double A, Lake County and Akron, which are two pretty good leagues to hit in for double A. But he's killing it in Akron right now. 13 at bats. 13 at bats. He's hitting 462 though. He'll probably be promoted. Again, if he gets off to a hot start here in double A, he'll be in triple A soon. As long as he plays well. But again, look at his track record. In college, he hit 298 as a freshman or sophomore, whatever it was. He hit 366 his sophomore year, his second year, raked. In his third year, he hit 350 with more home runs, more doubles, a lot of walks. Strikeouts are a little bit, he's striking out at about a little bit more than 20% of the time, but he's got good walk rate. Chandler Simpson is also a nice hitter, not undervalued because of his lack of power. Well, Chandler Simpson is one of those, he's one of one, right? He's probably the fastest guy in professional baseball, which helps him, right? He doesn't just have elite speed. He's got like the best speed in the game, which really helps. And he's killed it, right? And at Georgia Tech, he was insane, but he has zero pop. Literally zero power. Last year alone in 24, he had, 14 doubles, 1 triple, and 1 home run. So but he hit 355. But Chandler Simpson is one of one as far as his speed and everything like that. He's going to be utilized again. He's hit everywhere he's been in the minor leagues. He's a 325 career hitter, right? He's so fast he can hit ground balls and beat them out. He plays a speed game at an unbelievably high level. Mike, again, for him, he doesn't strike out, but he doesn't walk that much either because he has zero power. They're just going to hum him fastballs. So he's going to be able to hit for high average because he gets nothing but fastballs. But at the big league level, whenever he gets his shot, he's going to have to hit, right? Like that's just who he is. He has to hit. Jared, Baseball Bat Bros did a Torpedo Pat review tool. Surprisingly, no difference, but a couple kids on my son's high school team got their parents to pre-order a couple. Shaking my head. Well, I think again, I don't expect there to be a difference in like overall max exit velocity or anything like that. It's just a matter of if you hit a lot of balls on the barrel or to the jam side, you're going to see big improvement, right? Because the barrel is still going to be fine, and then now lower down the barrel is going to be good too. So that could be a big increase for a lot of hitters. Jared, that is because too many people think the bat will 100% will improve them when it really is the player that needs to improve. Yeah, and it's not just, again, it's not like you're getting extra. It's not like you're essentially getting extra exit velocity or anything like that. It's just a matter of fact that like a lot of good hitters get jammed with two strikes and, fastballs in. And if all of a sudden a place on the barrel that's normally a jam shot is now on the barrel, like that helps. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. It's not the tool, it's the mechanic, but some of these parents are just not that smart, unfortunately. Sure. I just took my son's bat and beat it with a hammer. I'm not marketing my caveman bat. If anyone is interested, $400, but for Kyle's fans, you get 10% off. And are willing to spend money on the next fad instead of investing that money into gym, equipment, or proper lessons, all looking for an easy way. Yeah, exactly. And that's what when I made my video about Torpedo Bat in particular, that's what I said is that if you think this is something that's going to like instantly make you a better player because you see big league players having success with it, like you're not a big league player, right? And there's way bigger holes in your game than there are in big leaguers games. And like you're going to get better through putting in the work in the gym, in the batting cage, everything else like that. You're going to get way better long term from doing things like that. Don't expect that the torpedo bat is going to just make you a better player. It's not. It's not going to make you a better player at all. You're still the same guy. Here's another video. Golly, man, this is. I mean, how many of these am I going to find? But it's like you said, Jared. So here's an example from the Orioles game against Kansas City. Brandon Hyde on Taylor O'Neill throwing the ball to the wrong base in the eighth. We've had 3 times now where he's thrown the ball to the wrong base. You've got Bobby Witt on first base and the ball drops like that. Tyler understands the ball needs to go to the plate. So this is a shallow fly ball. You got a really good runner on first, 2 outs. You pick this ball up, you got to throw home. Well, where does he throw? Second base. He throws it to second base. Again, off the bat, you throw it home. And I don't know what the first baseman's doing on this. First baseman, why is the first baseman running after this ball? First baseman has no chance on this ball. He should never have a chance on this ball. It's either second base or left field or right field. First baseman's got to be right here for the play at home. But first baseman's just like, no one's even talking about that. Why is your first baseman just like casually jogging down the right field line after a ball that lands? Again, I want to see where this ball lands. And even O'Neill, look at O'Neill running. Watch O'Neill run this whole time. Look, he's just jogging. Look, watch this. He's just jogging. Crazy. Again, this stuff just pops up in my feed just nonstop, and I'm just like, what is going on in Major League Baseball? What's up, Dusty? Finally in the chat. As an O's fan, besides Mullins, our outfield defense is horrendous. I think there's a lot of teams that are thinking that right now, White House. Like I'm seeing outfield play across the board just being really bad. Did you see Cuvée almost score an inside the park home run? No, I didn't, Canes. I didn't. Dusty, had to work, dude. Got to pack all my work into Monday so I can make the chat Tuesday through Friday. All right. That's understandable. Hey, big game tomorrow for Georgia Tech. Actually, let's look at some of these midweek. Let's look at some of these midweek matchups coming up. All right, so we got a couple of nothings. Louisville, Kentucky. This will be a good matchup, right? Kentucky's played pretty well. Louisville's obviously played fantastic. Auburn, Georgia Tech. This is a big game as far as national seed potential, right? Like, if Georgia Tech goes 17-13, but they have a big win over Auburn and stuff like that. The big win over, if they beat Georgia, they play Auburn twice. They only play Georgia once. But if they have a couple, 2 out of 3 of those SEC wins, that's going to look really good on the resume for a national seed. Again, I think if Georgia Tech just takes care of business in ACC play, they'll be a national seed. But these are little games that help. Florida State, Florida. Florida is in terrible shape, 1-11 in the SEC. Again, they've played 12 games, 18 games remaining. To go 13-13, they have to go, 13-17. They have to go 12-6 the rest of the way. They have to win every single series remaining. Why are so many designated hitters in MLB not very productive? I mean, all they have to do is hit. Well, I'll say it like this, Cap. Most of those designated hitters are guys who aren't great hitters in the minor leagues. They just hit for a lot of power. So you get to the big leagues and it's even harder, right? Guys are even better. Stuff's even better. And again, being a designated hitter is not, it seems easy because you don't have to worry about defense, but like a lot of guys, they're able to reset after a bad at bat because they have to go out and play defense. When you're just sitting in the dugout, mulling over your last at bat for a couple innings, it can make it more difficult. I won't be able to make the chat on Wednesday, though. I will be at a little place called Augusta National. Coastal Carolina, UNC Wilmington. That'll be a good matchup. Virginia Tech and Troy, a top 25 battle. Again, for Troy being a possible host this year, this is a big kind of game for RPI, everything like that for Troy. Alabama, Southern Miss. Same thing is true for Southern Miss. They had a series loss this weekend in the Sun Belt, but they get a big win here against Alabama. Same thing. I mean, they're one of those mid-majors that's could work themselves into a hosting situation. But the mid-major hosts, they have to really take care of business in conference, and they got to do well in the midweek. They got to do both those things. Dallas Baptist, Oklahoma. Be a really good game. Oklahoma got swept this past weekend. Dallas Baptist lost the series, so another a big midweek for these two, and that's pretty much it for the big games. NC State, East Carolina, two teams that are like East Carolina's ticking up, playing better now. NC State's playing better as well, 7-5 in the ACC. That'll be a great game. So we actually have some pretty good games coming up tomorrow for our late night stream. There must be analytics that prove that hitting 200 and hitting 20 home runs wins more games than hitting 300 with 10 home runs. Well, that's the problem with analytics, Cap, is you can basically make any argument you want and find numbers to back it up. The reality is, can you win with a few of those guys in your lineup? Maybe. But to me, it's all about, all right, well, how many runs are they bringing in? How many runs are they scoring? And how many runs are they driving in? If you hit 200 with 20 home runs and you have 88 RBIs at the end of the year, okay, you're driving in a lot of runs. But if you're hitting 200 with 20 home runs and you're driving in like 45 runs at the end of the year, you're not that valuable. Watching the fans in Florida hurt this weekend. Today is a Bali 40 degrees and rainy, maybe some snow tonight, and 20s at night next couple of days. High school teams haven't even played a game yet up here. Yeah, I mean, sorry, man. Sorry that the weather's really good down in Florida. Balmy. Okay, got it. Statistics are like a bikini. What they reveal is suggestive. What they conceal are vital. Mark Twain. Exactly. Exactly. And I mean, listen, that's the problem with analytics is like you can basically make an argument for anything you want. You can find a way to back it up with numbers. And then you can also find a way to discredit a certain player because of other numbers. Because again, you can look at OPS as like this very important number, but I've seen plenty of guys with decent OPSs who don't bring in the amount of runs you would expect from a guy who, has a really good slugging percentage but hits like 220. And it's just like, but what they reveal, we like. Shut up, Dusty. In pitching, do you think the analytics and numbers are more or less telling / valuable? Again, man, it's like I think everything is nuanced. Like I've faced guys who, if you looked at the metrics, you're like, oh, this guy's nasty, and then you get in the box and you're like, man, I see everything really well. Nothing looks crazy. You face a guy that throws 100, and you get in the box and you're like, this does not look like 100. And then you face guys, if you look at the numbers, you're like, oh, this guy's gonna be easy. And then it's like 92 and it looks like it's 100. So to me, it's all about what does the hitter perceive? And you really can't quantify what the hitter actually perceives. You can only quantify what the ball is doing. Right. And so it's great for quantifying what the ball does. But again, like if you're looking at, well, the metrics say this pitch is elite, but then 3 weeks into the season, that pitch keeps getting lit up, and your argument is, well, it's an elite pitch, we're going to keep throwing it. It's like, well, the in-game data is telling you it's not an elite pitch. So how do you reconcile those two things? Because that happens all the time. I've watched Santa Barbara Ace, which is projected top 10 pick, but I think there are many SEC, ACC pitchers that are better. Something just fell down my stairs. Not sure what it was. Let me go to Santa Barbara's stats. Yeah, I think right now, like, their pitching was supposed to be elite, and as a staff, it's been really good, but their starters have actually just been kind of okay. Calvin Prosky's done great, but behind him is Tyler Bremner, and he's got, he's throwing his 3.7. He's doing really good, but it's nothing dominant. And then Jackson Flora has been the worst. 4.5 ERA. What I will say is they don't walk guys. Their starting pitchers do not walk guys, which is one of the reasons you're still seeing them have a lot of success. But again, they're 7-8 in conference right now, which is crazy. I think everyone expected them to kind of run away with it. See you, Dust. UC Irvine dominated them. Unfortunately, they lost 2 of 3 to Oregon State. Yeah, they did. Yeah, and I thought Irvine was going to take that series. Again, like Oregon State is solid. I just think Oregon State is a little bit overrated. Get this NCAA hearing on. All right, I can see if I can pull it up.
Attempting to achieve after 100 years of exploitation. Out of the goodness of their heart, are they now saying, we were wrong? We have to provide the athletes something in return for losing the right to collect on their NIL? Because that's what the original
Kyle, at what age did you feel like you
House
became more
case was
self-reliant in your
about,
baseball career,
NIL.
dealing with pressure, health,
They want
performance,
to
life, from
control
a broader
they want to
perspective?
control the market.
Original Alston.
Let me turn this
Yeah,
down a
Alston,
little bit.
excuse me. They want to control the market.
Let me turn the music off too. Let me know what the volume, if you guys can hear this or not. Cap, I was pretty self-reliant early on, right? Especially from the mental side. That was probably the strongest part of my game. Was I was very good with dealing with like the ups and downs of a baseball season. And so I mean that was high school for me. I mean, high school I figured that out. And then obviously, like I set the goal of being a freshman All-American. So like that was something I woke up and worked to achieve every year and every day. And most guys, like if they can figure that out in high school, they're going to be fine.
That all of the elements are intersect. If they all intersect, each one can be judged independently, but they have to be judged as well as a whole. If I may, for example, Dr. Rasher.
Well, you've got a couple more minutes, so if you had some sort of overarching points you wanted to make.
Dr. Rasher
Can you guys hear it now?
said that his declaration does not offer an economic analysis to assess all of the competitive effects of this settlement or to balance possible anti-competitive harm against possible anti-competitive benefits. That's true. No one has done that.
Well, I don't know that that's the test. Is it a balancing test?
Under rule of reason, it certainly is, Your Honor.
For each individual thing, yes.
Exactly. And then as a whole, because the settlement does not apply only to each individual component. It applies to all of the components as a whole. And so Your Honor has to make a decision as to whether or not the settlement as a whole involves anti-competitive effects that outweigh any pro-competitive benefits, which have not been identified for the 365 schools, 195,000 athletes, 24 different sports divided into, two genders. What is the pro-competitive benefit, of the caps, for example, in women's sports? What is the pro-competitive benefit on non-revenue sports compared to revenue sports? These are the issues that need to be determined if, in effect, the settlement does infringe in those areas with respect to anti-competitive effects and alleged pro-competitive benefits, if any. One of the things, again, Your Honor, I'd like to emphasize is that the settlement makes no commitment whatsoever. It says every school is free to do what it is they wish.
Well, that's the market, right?
No, that's not the market.
You can't force them to pay something they don't want to pay if they don't have to pay it, and it's not any sort of
Precisely.
restriction.
So there's no bottom on which to measure this. There is a market outside that they're trying to reach, and that is the NIL that's being paid to athletes now, because that is their effort to control that licensing provision and to offset the cap.
Okay, well, again, we'll find out what I just can't remember the details of that right now. There's some kind of $2.5 million.
That's on new scholarships.
Okay.
In short, Your Honor, given the fact that there is no floor, unlike in professional sports, but there is a cap, and the professional sports that they cite are not viable benchmarks because they are all collective bargaining agreements with a single sport, with limited number of teams and limited athletes, and all men.
Let me ask you this before I tell you your time is up. What's your view on the class certification question?
The case of
the class certification question, whether a class can be certified that includes future members and whether their future claims can be released? You have any thoughts on that?
I think, Your Honor, again, the Supreme Court decided that, in the Silicon Breast implants cases, those that are not yet class members deserve to be separately represented. Those individuals, some of whom are high school or junior high school, really have no knowledge, of what
So
this
can they be in
settlement
the class
will
or
do.
not?
Excuse me?
Can they be in the class or not? Can they make a valid release or not? I'm sorry to put you on the spot. You don't have to answer if you don't want to.
I don't
Just
think so.
curious.
I don't think so, Your Honor, because it's difficult to understand how they received notice of this and fully understood it. These are, adolescents with no agents, to.
All right, guys, I gotta head out. The one thing I think is interesting with the House settlement, it's like, why was the decision made that only if you played from 2016 to later, you're allowed to, be a part of the class action lawsuit, but a guy who played like myself in 2013 is not allowed. It's like, again, I mean, there's some serious hurdles in this House settlement, and we're going to figure it out here pretty soon what the judge is going to decide. You can go check that live stream out if you want. I have to head out. Thanks for joining the stream today, guys. And